हम मुलाकात करेंगे बहुत बड़े नॉवेलिस्ट, कॉलमिस्ट, बुक राइटर, एपिक राइटर आनंद नीलकांतन जी से। मैं पूरे सम्मान के साथ आनंद नीलकांतन जी को बुलाना चाहूंगा स्टेज पर, और उनके साथ निर्मल जोशी जी को। आनंद जी केरला के रहने वाले हैं, तिरुवनंतपुरम में इनका जन्म हुआ। असुरा द टेल ऑफ वैंक्विश्ड। अब जब नाम लूंगा तब आपको, जानते तो आप सभी लोग हैं, लेकिन जब ये नाम लूंगा तब आप पहचानेंगे। असुरा द टेल ऑफ वैंक्विश्ड, अजय द रोल ऑफ द डाइस, अजय द राइज ऑफ काली एंड द राइज ऑफ शिवगामी। ये जो कालजयी रचनाएं करी हैं आनंद जी ने, उसके लिए एक बार जोरदार तालियां। और इनके स्वागत के लिए मैं मंच पर बुलाना चाहूंगा नवभारत निर्माण समिति के अध्यक्ष डॉक्टर दीपक मधोक जी को एवं ट्रेजरर श्री धवल प्रकाश जी को। आनंद सर, मेरी क्षमता नहीं है कि मैं आपके बारे में बोलूं, बस आपको सुनेंगे आज बैठ के।
Well, good afternoon, and it's a great pleasure to me that I am talking to the person who made my evening in Shiv Ganga Express. I lost my mobile in 50 days, and I was standing near the bookshop in the station, and the bookshop owner told me that buy this book and your mood will be good. And I bought Asur. And when I reached Varanasi, I remembered I couldn't sleep. I went through the whole book. And I never thought, thanks to Deepak Bodok sir, Ashok Kapoor sir, that I get this opportunity to discuss my questions, rather questions, not my opinion or the views, questions with you. Anand Neelkantan is a kind of person and kind of author. I don't think I can relate him to any person in India right now. I don't know the other countries, but in India, nobody writes a contrary view the way he writes. Napoleon once said that what is history but a fable agreed upon. हमने जो मान लिया एक कहानी बन के आई, वही इतिहास है. हमारे जो religious books हैं, they are also some kind of history only. So, before starting this thing, my first question to great Anand Neelkantan, who is well known for his Bahubali pre-series, I can tell. Prequel to Bahubali. After that, the Bahubali series and the Bahubali movies were made, and everybody knows about Bahubali series. And he has written so many great television series, script also. He has acted also. A series called Taj, the blood, where the Akbar is shown as Anarkali is the mistress of Taj. That series in the OTT. And he has written many other series and some for Doordarshan also. So first of all, I would like to ask Neelkantan sir to say a few words about his work. Before that, along with that, I would like to ask him that what prompted you to write stories from the perspective of the antagonist, the other side of the coin. Anand Neelkantan sir.
Thank you, sir. I think unlike your quiz shows, I did not answer in one word, right? I can take a few more. Basically, there are no antagonists in Indian Puranas, sir. There is no concept of antagonist. This concept of antagonist is, I think, a Western import, where the stories are seen in black and white, always. Like, they say Abrahamic religions, hota hai, there's God versus demon, hell versus heaven. It all works on duality for them. Hell versus heaven and sin versus virtue. For us, it is based on karma and karma bala. But what happened because of the British rule, because of the Islamic rule before that, the concept of hell and the concept of the good versus bad came to us, and the entire stories got twisted. So I thought, why not try to tell one, like Ravan, the lynching of Ravan, जो दसरा में होता है, lynching of Ravan, Ravan Dahan होता है, that happens only in a particular geography of India, where, and it originated, I believe, during the Islamic rule. Nowhere else Ravan is burned. Most of the big Shiva temples in the south will have Ravan as a murti, or at least sculpted on the huge sculptures. Because Ravan is no one other than Jaya, the Dwarapalak of Bhagavan Vishnu. When Ravan and Jaya and Vijaya were cursed by Sanakas, they were given a choice of taking, there are two versions, one is 100 Janmas, one is 7 Janmas, whichever way you follow, of being the devotee or Bhakt of Bhagavan, or 3 Janma of being the enemy of Vishnu. Even Jaya Vijaya at that time knew that अंध भक्त बनना उतना अच्छा नहीं है. So they didn't choose the blind bhakti which many of us exhibit now towards our ideologies, political leaders and all. They chose it wisely. And it was shown as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Dandavakra, Shishupala, or other versions, Kamsa and Shishupala. The 3 Janmas they took, and it was shown as a Leela, a play, in which it is told to teach everybody about the karma and karma bala. So that is why we find a lot of things which Bhagavan Ram had done. When we look at it through the Abrahamic lens of this is right, this is wrong, suddenly we feel this is what Ram, all the debates which happen in social media, no? Jo Bali ko aisa he mara, tir mara, ped ke piche se chipke. This becomes a kind of how can a God do that? This kind of questions come. How can a God, because our concept of God is not Bhagavan. These are two different things. How can Ram do the Sita Parityag? These kind of questions rises. When we forget that, it is about karma and karma bala. That is why even in Mahabharata and Ajaya, which I told, this question comes, if like television, I also have written a lot for television. I wrote Siya Ke Ram, I wrote Chakravarti Ashoka, I wrote Sankat Mohan Mahabali Hanuman, I wrote the Srimad Ramayan which was going on in Sony TV. But when you write in television, we try to put it like a very childish, black and white way, good versus bad. So if Mahabharata was that, if it was good versus bad, the Kurukshetra war, Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetra, if it was the Dharma which won, then what should have happened after that? Satya Yuga should have come, right?
That brings us to a question from your book, Ajaya. After going through the Ajaya, well, the killing of Iravan, killing of Lakshman. Do you know Lakshman? Who is Lakshman in Mahabharata? I think many of you might not be knowing. Lakshman means the son of Duryodhan. Killing of Lakshman and destruction of Khanda 1. Krishna says that एक एक चीज को खत्म कर दो, एक एक प्राणी छोटे छोटे को खत्म कर दो. We feel that why Krishna the God, why there was a cheating in killing Lakshman, the son of Duryodhan, and there was a revenge by killing Abhimanyu the same way, by cheating. So after going through the book Ajaya, we always question कि भाई smartly ऐसा तो नहीं है. It is very cleverly done that the adharma is established as dharma in the book Mahabharata. Very cleverly done. That question arises. I would like to have your take on that.
So the question is about whether it was dharma which won or what is dharma. So Bhishma, when Bhishma says in the Sabha, Dharmasya Tattvam Nihidam Guhayam, the concept of dharma, it is hidden in the deep caves of mind, if you take. So if that is the case, nobody is able to define dharma. Everybody is trying to give their own definition of dharma in Mahabharata. So what did Pandavas gain after the war? They lost all their children. Is this the price of following dharma, or was it dharma they followed? Whose dharma? Is it Kauravas dharma or Pandavas dharma? The questions, it's an endless debate. There is a reason, I believe, there is a reason why the great sages like Valmiki or Vyasa, if it is one person or if it is a group of people, that debate I leave it to the scholars. But let us assume the way of belief itself, it's a sage Valmiki or sage Vyasa. They have purposefully put these so that we will pause and debate about what is right and what is wrong. Only, we are not children, right? Only to children you'll have to say this is right, this is wrong, don't do it. Indian sages never infantilized us. They gave the people to think about what is right and what is wrong, and that is the reason why they are purposefully putting events like in Ramayana where Ram has to hide behind a tree and shoot Bali. Why? So it's a dharma sankat he is in. He has to choose one dharma over other dharma. When he is going to the forest, he has to choose the dharma. Jabali questions Ram. Jabali is an atheist, Charvaka minister in Dacharada's. Is a Brahmin and a Charvaki who it's an atheist minister in Dasharada's council of ministers. Jabali stops Ram and tells him, why are you leaving to the forest? Because your father could be senile. Your father has given a word to your stepmother much before you were born. The unquestionable son of father. Which dharma is bigger?
Well, so you mean to say dharma is also an interpretation. For me, this can be a dharma. And for him, that can be a dharma. I mean, the contrary can be dharma for each other.
Definitely, that is why again and again, that is why it is Dharma Kshetra in Mahabharata. So Duryodhana's questions, Suyodhana or Duryodhana's questions are equally valid as Yudhishthira's questions. His claim is equally valid. That is how the great story come, and this is for the churning, it's for the mantana, for us to decide what is Dharma and act accordingly. So in Mahabharata itself it comes, each of the creatures are acting as per their Dharma and doing it. So go look the entire story from Ashwatthama's perspective, you find a different story. For another example which I have not written, Mahabharata, when I had two choices to write when I thought of rewriting, giving my own interpretation from the other side of Mahabharata in Ajaya series, which has come both in English, Hindi and around 20 languages. I was thinking of another angle which somebody could explore or I might explore, not with Pandavas and Kauravas. It was Panchalas versus Kurus. That's another possibility in Mahabharata which we read through the line. Who becomes the commander-in-chief? It is Dhrityumna, no? It is Dhrityum who becomes the commander-in-chief. It is Ashwatthama goes and kills him. He stays the commander-in-chief of Pandavas always. After Kurus and Panchalas were in fight for generations, but after Drona asked Arjuna to go and bring Drupada, then he makes the Havan, and from the Yajna, that's why she's called Yajna Seni. From Havan, Drishtidyumna and Panchali comes, and it is meant to destroy the Kuru dynasty. So what if the entire war was about, the rest were later interpreted, the entire war was about Panchalas versus Kauravas, where Panchala, not Shakuni, the Drupada, had cleverly manipulated so that these, the family, the Kuru, the great Kuru dynasty fight with each other and destroy each other. This is another possibility of Mahabharata. Then what happens to the tale of Dharma? Whose Dharma? Is it Panchala's Dharma? So this kind of possibilities, it keeps on opening up from telling it, when you tell it from various angles, and that is how the great literature churns.
So do you have this possibility is being explored just by interpretation, or there are certain other scriptures which support these kind of interpretation?
Actually, there are a lot of versions of Ramayana and Mahabharata. My latest book, Many Ramayanas, Many Lessons, which during the COVID time, both in English and Hindi, it had come as a podcast in Audible. I tried to list out all the Ramayanas which I had encountered orally, and even with a 500-page book, I would say it has not even covered 1% of the variations of Ramayana available. The next book is same on Mahabharata. It's a vast ocean, and you find that lot of contrarian versions are available. For example, in Ramayana, at least there are people say Valmiki Ramayana is original. But in Valmiki Ramayana itself, there are a lot of references of previous Ramayanas, right? So many.
Kind of difference which Ramayana and Ramcharitmanas had, or does it have?
It has much more. That's what I
Okay.
said. There are so many versions of Mahabharata, especially in the oral history. So many of them are there, and most of our things were oral, and later only it was written down. Even written down versions, there are so many variations.
Because the question comes to mind because many of us have read Ramcharitmanas as well as Valmiki's Ramayana. But when it comes to Mahabharata, very few have read or gone through Jaya Samhita and Mahabharata. So people know very little about Jaya Samhita.
People, they don't allow you to read Mahabharata at home. That is a belief. No, you are not supposed to.
That may be one of the reasons. You are right.
Whereas Ramayana is read more.
Mahabharata.
Because basically, our ancestors thought the basic difference between Ramayana and Mahabharata is in Ramayana, everybody is good, including the villain.
Okay.
Everybody is good. In Mahabharata, everybody is bad, including the heroes. So that's why they said, don't read. In the first glance, I am telling.
One of the speakers before our session was saying that there is a Ramayana where is Mahabharata where is Draupadi doesn't have 5 husbands. She has only Arjun as husband. One of the speaker was telling just before this session, do you have any kind of scriptures or novels and any other fiction or some other books which justifies that Draupadi had only one husband, not 5 husbands?
No, that version has come. The versions where Karna is the husband of Draupadi also are there in folk narratives. Okay. Karna saves Nagas capture all Pandavas and Draupadi, and Karna goes and saves them. That version also is available. So it's an endless ocean. I think it is like people have been writing on Ramayana and Mahabharata for thousands of years. And like in Ramayana, you imagine anything, that version will be available. Imagine anything like there are Ramayana where I'm not telling this to make controversy. I'm just telling it is there. That's all. Like where Sita and Ram and Lakshman, they are siblings of Varanasi, kings of Varanasi, and not Ayodhya. That version is available. I'm not saying there's a right version or not, but these are the ancient versions which are available.
People don't know that because I recall that there is a series called Siya Ke Ram. काफी लोगों ने शायद देखा होगा. सिया के राम तो वह शत्रुघ्न के अलावा उनकी एक बहन भी है जिसका नाम है शांता. That was after your series. He has written that सिया के राम serial. तो सिया के राम उसी प्रकार से कई बार महाभारत में लगा. The पहला सीन क्या करता है? भीष्म पितामह comes as a very brutal person, kills everyone, kidnaps Gandhari for the prince, and later on also we in the Mahabharata we see that this Bhishma Pitama always goes. Even he has kidnapped the princess from Kashi also, and but treat Bhishma Pitama in a very godly manner. Similarly, Krishna has been doing so many tricks. He has a very bad son, Samba. So, do you think that these kind of discussion and these kind of writing disturb us when we worship Bhishma Pitama or Krishna as God? Do you think?
The purpose of all these versions of Ramayana and Mahabharata is to disrupt. Not just now, right from when Bas, when he was writing also, he disrupted a lot of people. See, the idea of Indian thought is that it is never a commandment. Not even Gita is a commandment. It's a debate. This is, in every other country, the God descends and gives them an instruction list. You should do this, you should do this. If you don't do this, I will burn you in hell. I will fry you in hell. I will make you tandoor. He gives a list. Right? In every other country, the God has done the same God has come and given 3 different instruction lists to the people with almost similar but with minor variation, so that they are fighting even now on that minor variations. So in one person, the God comes and tells, you don't eat pig, but and don't drink alcohol, but you can have 4 wives. And he turns to this side, and to the neighbor he says, eat pig, but have only 1 wife. So this kind of instruction it had gone. I not.
You are right.
Whereas here, even when Krishna comes and shows his Vishwarup and tells to Arjun, he has another 300 questions on that. Even God is questioned. And after that, Krishna says, I told you the greatest of the knowledge. Now use your logic to find, do what is right. And then Arjuna does all these things. And in the later part, you find that he has forgotten all these things. So you ask Krishna again. Then Anugita comes in Mahabharata. So Krishna again summarizes it with, it's a shorter summary of the entire thing. He gets even irritated. But again, Arjuna still has the doubt. So it's a never-ending debate, whether it is Upanishad or Vedas. It's a never-ending debate. So the purpose of this kind of versions is to trigger the debate rather than making us just obey. It's not a religion or dharma of obedience. It's a culture of logic and churning of it. And why it is so? Because as...
This brings me to one question with your mind, sir. What's the story? Why didn't Ram, it is also very well explained, why didn't Ram fascinated you as much as Ravan? This is my personal
Maybe
question.
because my name is Anand Neelkantan. And Ravan was always the favorite of Neelakantan. Okay. But that apart, see, my idea was, I believe the book previous to this, where I wrote the Asura Way, that's a self-help book. I find that Britishers played a big trick, is what I found out. Maybe people may not agree with me, but I found out that in the last century, Britishers didn't want, after the 1857 rebellion, Britishers didn't want us to fight again. So they propagated that India is a spiritual civilization. Indians are very spiritually oriented people. So you find all the Gauras roaming around here and doing yoga. Nothing wrong with that. India is a spiritual civilization. But India is not just a spiritual civilization. India is a materialistic civilization also. No other civilization worships the money. No other civilization has a goddess and a god for money. A goddess like Lakshmi is there, Kubera is there for money. We have, it was always a balanced civilization, but in the last 150 years, it has been propagated that India is a spiritual civilization and a lot of chains have been put on us. So the Asura Way is to highlight the materialistic aspect of Indian civilization.
Well, the Asura Way, please don't get confused with Asur the novel and the Asura Way, the non-fiction. The Asura Way is the non-fiction and Asur is the fiction. Okay, so don't get confused. But for the students, it's very interesting. हम सबको generally पता होता है काम, क्रोध, लोभ, मोह. ये what do you call it? Asura Way, the contrarian path to success. The contrarian path to success means anger, passion, greed, attachment, ego, envy. वो कहते हैं, you write that these are necessary things to do if to achieve success in your life. This puts us into a fix. All the students, ये बड़ी गलत चीज है, काम, क्रोध, लोभ, माया, ईर्ष्या, बड़ी गलत चीज है. But what you advocate is that to get success in today's life, these 6 vices are very essential to succeed in your life. It puts it into a very dilemma. किसको माने, किसको ना माने? Sir, your take on that.
See, basically, this the Shadharibhus, the 6 enemies of human life, that was not meant for the grihasthas like us. That was basically meant for the people taking Diksha and going for sannyas. For them, it is not, all these things are shatrus. Not for us, these are enemies for them. For people like us, so that is why the entire Krishna, we have, if you read Mahabharata, we find that Krishna has all these things.
That is true. That is true.
He has all these things. The only thing is that he's not the slave of it. He's the master of it, but he uses all these things. Not just Krishna, you take Chanakya, you take all the successful people in life. The Asura Way I called, Asura has now been, people think it is in a very negative fashion, but I am taking it in the original meaning. So all the emotions are very much important. If there is contentment, a lot of our parents tell you have to be contented. Jo aapke paas hai, usse khush rehna. Nothing could be worse than that for the material success in your life. This is something which you should give to a 75-year-old or a 80-year-old or a 90-year-old, not a 15-year-old.
Yes, yes, certainly
Because
only-
if the first man was contented, we will be still living in the caves, right? People who are not happy with walking, they invented the cycle and then the cars, and now even driving they don't want, so Tesla has come self-driven one. This is the relentless pursuit of this material pursuit and success, which the West understood 300 years ago, and then the Industrial Revolution happened. Before that, they were also like that. The church was telling them, be the slave of the church. They came out of that with this Asura way, the materialistic way, and then only the Europe expanded and then colonized us. We were always celebrating great temples. Temples, if you don't want anything, why should there be a grand temple? Why should there be a temple like Brihadeshwara, the majestic temples? And that comes from the extreme ambition, extreme discontentment, and saying that I'll make it bigger and bigger and bigger. This is what all the kings did before this madness caught us, and we said that we should be all simple. There's that. First we'll have to achieve that. I cannot tell. Tata can tell, Ambani can tell, Tata can tell, ये पैसे में क्या है? इसमें कुछ नहीं है इसमें. The people like us cannot tell that. We have to first reach that level. Then we can tell. Okay, इसमें कुछ नहीं है, पैसा में नहीं है, कुछ में कुछ हो.
So, very well explained, sir. Now we have only 5 minutes left. I will put the last question. After that, I will take question from the audience. My last question is on a lighter note, sir. Your novel's tagline is "Story of the Vanquished." Story vanquished. Do you intend to write a similar story of the vanquished in light of the current political situation? जो पराजित हो गए हैं politics की दुनिया में. All those who have been defeated in the field of politics, current politics, do you?
Hello. Yes. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my name is Joy, and I would like to ask that, as we were enlightened by you, that we have been graced with a grey morality by our, ancestors who wrote this mythology for us. I would like to double down on this, and I would like to ask, sir, 2 questions out of it. First of all is why we, the civilization, were graced with this grey morality,